Item B, adopt a resolution amending the master fee schedule rental rate for senior center assembly room, allowing use of the kitchen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. While approving the master fee schedule as part of the 2010-2011 budget process, the City Council asked staff to work with both the Senior Advisory Board and the Parks and Recreation Commission to develop a process that would allow renters of this room here in the Senior Center use of some of the equipment in the kitchen. Staff met with both bodies, worked through the interests of both that are listed in your packet, and developed the following recommendation: that renters of the facility would be allowed to use the kitchen's steam table, oven, and stove. They would pay for one additional building attendant. There would not be an additional cost to use the room, but they would pay for the additional building attendant, and that building attendant is the person who would directly operate the equipment. They would be trained on how to use the equipment, and therefore it would make sure that the equipment was available for use for the lunch programs the following days. The renters will be barred from use of the facility from future rentals if they abuse the facility in any way, and if they go outside of the boundaries. The specific action tonight that is being presented to you would amend the master fee schedule to indicate that renters using the kitchen must pay for one additional facility attendant for the use of the kitchen. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have, and there are members of the Senior Advisory Board here in our audience.
Question for you, Randy. It says here that the attendant will oversee users by operating the kitchen equipment. So if I come in and I want to rent the facility and I have 500 frozen pies, is he going to cook it for me, or is she going to cook it for me?
Well, they'll make sure that they turn on the stove and the oven properly, and if there's any issues with it, you would see the facility attendant. But in terms of stirring the spaghetti and putting the items in and out, the recipes are all on the renter still.
So this would be someone that would be trained to oversee the use of the items, right?
And to make sure that they turn it on properly, that they adjust temperatures as necessary, that things are turned off properly, that the care is taken care, that the care is provided to the equipment. The Senior Advisory Board's largest concern is that they cook several hundred meals on a daily basis, and that the equipment needs to be in shape for those meals.
Okay, and I see you have a new lockable refrigerator in this request also.
One of the items that people talked about both on the Parks and Rec Commission and from the City Council is additional space for refrigerated or freezer items. The space that's currently available for such uses in the kitchen is full with all of the items for the lunch program. We would be purchasing out of the funds of the senior division a new refrigerator freezer to be placed in the closet behind me, and the facility attendant would make that refrigerator freezer available to the renters as necessary.
Questions?
To the chair. So on a Saturday night, we have a big fundraiser here, and they typically come in, they rent the facility 4 hours minimum, and some go as much as 6-7 hours. So the extra attendant that would be overseeing the kitchen, how would that be figured into the cost? Is that the entire time of the rental, or is that for just the amount of time that there's cooking?
It would be the entire time of the rental. The original facility attendant would actually be here a little bit before the group arrives and after they leave to handle the setup and the cleanup. The facility attendant who is here because of the kitchen would be here just the time that the party is scheduled. And that is at the $15 an hour rate that is listed in the master fee schedule.
So, okay.
So for a 6-hour party, they would be here for the 6 hours. The groups, most of the time the group's going to continue to use it. They're not going to just do the cooking and leave and come back. They're still going to do cleanup and those things, and that facility attendant will be there the whole time that the kitchen is occupied for the rental.
So it'd be the same as what you pay the attendant outside for the amount of hours?
The hourly rate is the same. It would actually probably be typically would be about an hour less, possibly 2 hours less. If you have that 4-hour rental, you are usually paying the first facility attendant to be here before your party starts. They need to set up the tables and the chairs and those things. And then they are here after you have left the facility on your 4-hour party. They need to clean up and put away tables and chairs and some of those functions. So that you usually paying the first facility attendant for maybe an hour longer than the party goes. 4-hour rental, you're probably paying the facility attendant for 5 hours. They're here to open and close in addition to being here during your event.
Okay, and I noticed on the fee schedule that that's not included in the master fee, so we add that on to the actual rental of facility. And in this case, and then with the extra, the kitchen, what are we calling it? Kitchen monitor, that would add also. So we're talking probably a couple $100 on top of the actual rental of facility.
I would guess $60 to $110, depending on how long
for two attendants.
that they're in here. We are not recommending any additional charge for the facility, with the concept being that more rentals would still generate more revenues from the city. When our intern a couple of months ago did a study of a survey of all of the similar facilities throughout the county, the fees of this were a little bit higher. The idea was to include that and not to raise the fees for the facility as well.
But we are raising the fees because now we're paying for someone else to, okay.
Questions?
Through
Vice
the
Mayor?
chair. I probably am unique in the sense that when this building opened up in 1987, we had the first wedding reception, which was the O'Brien wedding. I remember renting that with Wendy Mines. So I had the privilege of renting out the facility here, and back then we did allow this usage of these items. Back then, though, we didn't have the daily meal preparation that was done. The county brought it in. So I know there's a concern of balancing. I'm hoping that the refrigeration unit will help that, because obviously it's full where before we are able to accommodate a renter. I know it's not specified here, and it's not included to be able to use it, but I do not believe the dishwasher should be able to be utilized by the group. I think that's, and I know it doesn't say it, but I just want us on the same page. My recommendation would be not. I've seen too many times when we rented it out back then, don't know how it is today, that it's just not used properly. They try to think you can put all kinds of stuff through it, which is, it just doesn't function, and it usually breaks it down. So that would be a recommendation of mine. Also, if we find that there's problems, if this is adopted and going forward, I would hope that staff or the commission or board would come back, say the board, because they're the ones who have the day-to-day operations in here and will know, obviously, way before we will, if there's a concern or problem. I think it was of a benefit back then for users to have some of those items available to them. There was not an attendant back then. I think that's something that I think the school district uses, that I think has been of a benefit to them in order to continue their lunch program, because ours is crucial to the needs of the seniors of this community and the surrounding communities. So though I am in favor of us moving forward with an attendant, so I think anyone that we get from here that's going to watch that will have the same love and care as if it were their own kitchen. And so I think that will be an intricate part to ensure a good event, and that the kitchen is ready to go for the seniors on Monday morning.
So Randy, the dishwasher is not mentioned? Was it ever talked about?
It was talked about extensively, and staff and the board and the commission all agree with the vice mayor's opinion. It's an item, it's difficult to use, it does break down quite often. It takes a lot of time to use if you're talking about large parties. Most people are using caterers anyway. They can just load things up and they can take them back to their place and do the cleaning back there. There's been very few requests for it. It's more of requests to bring in lasagnas or things like that, to heat them up in the stove, to use the steam tables. Washing dishes is not something that we get much of anyway, and so it's not part of the recommendation.
Okay, so that's not included.
It's not
All
included.
right. Any other questions or action?
One last question,
Yes.
if I could. Now, were any of the regular groups that use the facility, were they contacted and asked if they'd you know, if this was a better thing for them to be able to use the kitchen at an added cost?
They were not specifically asked about that for this recommendation. The staff and the board both felt that the items here are the items that they have requested to use in the past. So it met their interest, but no, you are correct. We did not specifically go out and ask them their opinion of this.
In the previous request, was it said that we'd pay for it if we were able to use it? Any comments like that you recall?
That I cannot answer. I don't know.
Through the chair.
Irene?
Just to be clear, if you do not want to use those items, you do not have to pay for attendant. So when you rent, so when people come up and they say, I want to rent this place and I want to do this and I want to do that, I'm assuming you're going to make it very clear to them that this is, you know, to do the kitchen, this is this and this, you know, A, B, and C, and these are all the things that you need to do.
Well, there is one facility attendant with any of the rentals that here. There's always
Right.
somebody on duty. This would be for an additional person just for the kitchen.
Yeah, I
If you
understand.
did not want to use the kitchen, then the facility attendant who is here would just make sure that you do not have access to the kitchen. You do not get to use the equipment at all.
Right. I'm just saying when people ask to rent this place, that those choices are clear to them.
Oh.
Okay.
We will do that, yes.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, one follow-up. Let me just give an example. If we have a elementary school here that's having a dinner, and they're utilizing the kitchen only to use as a serving area for refreshments, and maybe they use the steam table to have ice and the refreshments in there as they hand them out, would that constitute an additional attendant, or would it not?
It would not. It would be the same as it's been handled at this point. It would just be the use of the equipment if they're turning on the ovens, if they're turning on the steam tables, if they're turning on the stove. Those types of things would necessitate the additional building attendant.
Thank you.
Okay. Any action?
Let's do it. I'd like to adopt the resolution.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Do you want to say something regarding the last item at the podium, please?
My name's Gloria Dieter. I'm the nutrition site manager. I cook over anywhere from 460 meals to 600 meals a week here on the site. And as a devil's advocate, so we do open up our kitchen and our facility and some of our equipment, and something does go wrong, who's to say that I come in on Monday morning and I don't have my equipment and the facility running up to its functionality? You know, who's to say that I have to use the stove, the oven, steam table, which is not, steam table has not been a problem, but we have a, you know, very sensitive, you know, equipment. And I'm coming in here to provide a service to my community, and if my equipment is not up to its proper working order, what do I do?
Okay.
What's the answer to that?
Randy, could you address this at the podium, but that's, we're not moving too many people around. I would guess that there's plenty of deposit in place, number one, if there is in fact somebody breaks something. But number two, I would guess that the new attendant that would be in charge, that is trained to operate this stuff, is going to make sure that it's operating before and after that rental party leaves.
That is correct. There's both the deposit, and the facility attendant would immediately know before the event left if things were in proper working order. If they were not, we would be contacting facilities division, who would be working on the issues immediately. But the reason to have the facility attendant is to make sure that everything here is in proper working order, that they are the ones that are touching the knobs, buttons, etc., and not the renters. That was also one of the conditions from the Senior Advisory Board. That's why they asked that if people do abuse this, if they can be barred from future uses.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very difficult to do for private parties. It would be more something that would be going on for organizations.
Through the chair, and I appreciate the question, because I'll be the first to say, getting called out at 1 a.m. in the morning to mop floors, Ray Gomes taught me how to mop a floor correctly because he was in the military, is that Is there some provision that all of a sudden the attendant's taking stock and inventory, notices that at midnight, going into Sunday, that obviously there's a concern? Whom would they contact on that Sunday to try to make any type of necessary arrangements so that Monday it is functioning and operational for the needs of the seniors?
They would contact either the supervisor of the facilities division, Renee Walsh. They can contact the head of the senior division, or they can contact me, and we will be working with them depending on what the issues are.
If it's mopping floors, I can help you, but in that category, I'm probably not.
If it's
But-
mopping floors and those things, there is a custodial company that's also coming in. On weekdays, we do have 23 hours a day. There is a custodian on duty somewhere within the city. That is not true for weekends. But the supervisor of the facilities division is available, or we do have lead persons. So all the facility tenants would have a list of phone numbers to contact.
So we'll have a contingency plan in place just in case the unforeseen may happen.
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And you heard the vice mayor is available for mopping.
Mopping only. I haven't forgotten how to do that here. It's been a while.